Hi, this is Jane from Proven Winners Color Choice, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to my friend, Andrea Wilson Mueller. Andrea and her husband Michael co-own Inside Out Landscape Design, which is in Frankfort, Kentucky. Now, Frankfort, Kentucky is a really awesome place to go visit. I highly recommend it. If for no other reason, if you like bourbon, there are a lot of really cool distilleries. You'll have a lot of fun. There's also some really good plants and some really good plants people like Andrea and her husband. If you need to know the nitty-gritty, Frankfort is a USDA Zone 6B, and they get about 46 inches of rain a year. So Andrea is a big fan of native plants. So today she's going to show us a garden that she did that features a lot of our native plants, native to North America. So this is a landscape that is at a house that's in really a pretty swanky subdivision. It's a situation that needed a more traditional landscape aesthetic. Probably something really crazy like a complete meadow garden might not fly in this neighborhood. So she's done an awesome job of taking some native species and using them in a very traditional landscape setting. And I think you're really going to like the results, and you're really going to enjoy hearing Andrea explain why she's chosen the plants she did.
I'm Andrea Wilson Mueller, APLD of Inside Out Design in Frankfort, Kentucky. We are standing in the Native Oasis Garden in the west end of Frankfort, and the whole idea and premise behind this garden and all of the phases that it included were to include as many native species as possible for pollinators, bees, butterflies, and host plants, nectar sources, wildlife habitat, and providing shelter, food, and water for those creatures. So we've included many proven winners in this garden, and also included many straight native species as well. In the foreground you can see beard tongue, and then behind those we have the little lime hydrangeas, which provide a really nice pop of color and are used throughout to tie the design together with some continuity. So at the mailbox here, and then as well as at the entrance of the house, we have little lime hydrangea. We also have Arctic Fire red twig dogwood, which I love for the winter red stems to provide some winter interest. And for the natives, we have some, of course these are native too, but we also have sweet coneflower, which I love the more unique bloom on that. And then baby Joe Pye weed, also a proven winners. And then we also have mountain mint, which is a wonderful pollinator magnet. And you can see all of the bees, wasps, and moths and butterflies swarming that. And then aster for late fall color. And then we also have some Itea, spice bush, and weeping hemlock, winterberry holly, and also the male pollinator for the winterberry holly. In this circle garden, we created this circle driveway so that the homeowner and their guests had easier access to the property. It was originally just a long driveway, so the idea behind this was to make it full. And we actually planted this last year, so this has been in 1 year or 1.5 years now. And we had some evergreens along this border, and they were not super happy with the clay and the wet, soggy soil. So we decided to replace that with the groundhog chokeberry, which were just planted today. This is one of my favorite chokeberries from Proven Winners because it's very low and it's great for compact spaces, but it also provides a really nice shiny leaf, fall color, bloom, and berry. Also in this circle garden, we have mountain mint, sweet coneflower, beard tongue. Again, we're tying in the design. Just because something is native doesn't mean it needs to look like a wild mess. And it can, certainly, but it's nice for especially the front of the home to have some design continuity, form, and structure. And so I love incorporating some non-natives as long as they're not invasive. And then also grasses. The grasses we have are Cape Breeze switchgrass here in the front, which is a little bit lower, and then Northwind switchgrass there in the back, which is a little bit higher. And I love incorporating switchgrasses, one, because they're native, two, because they can be a host plant for some of the moth species, and then also because they provide movement in the garden and just a different texture. This is the entrance. So people pull up in their cars. We have a wide entrance platform here. Part of this design was to help the home become more ADA accessible, but we also want to greet people with blooms and butterflies and things that are interesting as they're walking in. So one of my go-to plants is the Millennium Allium. I love this plant, even though it's not native. It's great to mix with the natives because, again, it is a pollinator magnet. It always has butterflies, bees, wasps on it. We also have the gem box inkberry, which is one of my go-to evergreens from proven winners because I love the compact size of it. I like to underplant them. In this case, I've used some sedge underneath of them. We also have Amsonia, Monarda. With the foliage contrast, we have a very light silk tassel sedge. This is also not native, but again, I was just going for impact at the entrance and then using natives elsewhere. So the contrast between the foliage is very important because first we have the very thin, strappy leaves of the sedge, and then we have a much thicker and more darker green foliage on the Millennium Allium. We use the Millennium Allium, which is this purple color, and then the little limes, and then we also actually have some Monarda over here. So it's important to combine different colors. It doesn't all have to be like all white or all green. It can if you like more of a classic palette, but it's nice to have more than one bloom all at the same time. So in this garden, we've definitely planned for continuous blooming. And so there's always something different blooming in pretty much every week, there's something different blooming. Some things persist longer than others, but in this garden, for sure, starting in very early spring, we have blooms all the way through winter interest. So this is the right side of the home and it goes down a slope. So we've also incorporated Autumn Magic chokeberry, a big swath of mountain mint, which is wonderful for pollinators, asters for the late fall bloom, and sweet coneflower, baby Joe Pye weed, which you can see a giant swallowtail over there. You see that? Also over on this side we have oak leaf hydrangea in the back layer, as well as red twig dogwood and silky dogwood. This is the shrub border to the woods. So the woods, of course, were existing, and we wanted to layer up into that and provide a little bit more structure on the edge. So we did that by adding Brandywine Viburnum, which is one of my favorite viburnums. Of course, it blooms in the spring, and then it also has this berry, which turns pink and blue. And then also we have bordered this with bottle brush buckeye, a wonderful native, mountain mint, one of my favorite natives, pawpaw trees, winterberry hollies, and vivid obedient plant.
Red twig dogwood is a really popular native plant for winter color, but the species can get rather large. So Arctic fire red and Arctic fire yellow are more compact forms of this popular plant. Itea virginica is a great native species, but it can get kind of large. So these varieties, Little Henry and Scentlandia, are a bit smaller than the species. Scentlandia also has very good bud hardiness, which is helpful in the northern part of the range and has exceptional fall color. Winterberry holly, or Ilex verticillata, is a wonderful native plant for winter color and also really useful being planted near a bog or rain garden. The species can get really large, so berry poppins and the little goblin varieties are nice choices for residential spaces since they are dwarfs that stay a lot smaller. If you have room for a full-sized plant, Berry Heavy does have a consistently heavy fruit set compared to the species. Brandywine is a selection of Viburnum nudum, and unlike the species, Brandywine shows good fruiting even without a pollinator nearby. Amsonia stormcloud is the only selection with dark black stems and dark leaves as it emerges in spring. This is a nice contrast to the periwinkle blue flowers. Enjoy the attractive olive green foliage throughout the summer on an impeccably shrubby habit. Monarda didyma was selected for the Pardon My series by proven winners and was found to have more reserved growth than the wild types. This makes them particularly resistant to the powdery mildew problems that plague the species. Great pollinator plant is Penstemon Midnight Masquerade. This selection has some of the most consistent burgundy foliage we've seen, as well as an extremely unique pink flower that is half the height of the sometimes floppy species. Blue switchgrass is a designer's dream as it grows in many sites from fairly dry to fairly wet and in a wide range of soil types. We love Apache rose for its shorter stature and unfailingly upright habit, but the showstopper is the pink hue that shows up in the traditionally tan panicles.